field that I can go into, and then I tried to see what are the options we can get after you graduate from your undergrad school. So I realized that in India, mostly the new grad roles that you get after you graduate are related to your data structures and algorithms, working on backend APIs or even front end. So there was very less chances of me getting into machine learning if I stay in India. So that's why I realized that, okay, let's try to think of doing a master's study in data science. And yeah, so that's how I chose to go to USA to do my studies. I applied to few schools, and then so USC was like one of my top school that I applied to, and then I was fortunate enough to get admission into that. So I was pretty happy about it. The only concern was like how can I manage my money over here, because it's a private school, and if you ask me, it's one of the most expensive school here, considering it's located in Los Angeles in California. So I had that idea in my mind, but then it's like one semester you go in and then you realize that, okay, there are multiple options that you can fund your education for the next 2 years. Well, not literally your education, but then at least you can manage your finances for your monthly expenses and all. So I was pretty fortunate to get into that. I did some research with Children's Hospital Los Angeles. I can talk more about this in detail, but to give you a brief idea, it was a research project funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're trying to do is all of the countries which don't have high field MRI scans, they want to transfer that technology to countries which have low field access. So even if you don't have money to buy a high field scanner, they're building some image analysis tool for them, pre-processing MRI scans of children who are like 0 to 5 years old. And then we collaborated with multiple institutions around the globe, like King's College London, even the Aga Khan University in Pakistan. We also had collaboration with one of the Kanpur Institute in India. So we had multiple collaborations, and I mostly worked on computer vision part of it, mostly data pre-processing and data handling. So I worked at Children's Hospital for like 1.5 years. I'm still doing my research there, even if I joined Proofpoint later. But then when I graduated, I was interning at Proofpoint as business operations analyst. And then later they said that, okay, we have a headcount, so we're gonna take you as a full-time, because they had multiple projects coming in. And I was fortunate enough to like provide them good solutions during my time, during internship, and then later I joined as a full-time over there. So that's like a brief idea of like how I came here and how I'm working as a business operations analyst at Proofpoint.
The journey has been tremendously inspiring. I mean, a lot of work you are doing at a very young age, and you have got a very good exposure to the current tech happening right now. I would love to know a little bit more about your early life. Like, so we are based out of Nagpur. Nagpur is again a tier 2, tier 3 city. Tier 2 city, I might say, like Pune, and after that Nagpur would come. Gadchiroli, I would call it as a tier 3 city, right? Of people in Nagpur and our learners come from nearby regions around Nagpur, Chandrapur, Bhandara, Wardha, and every other. In this region, we feel that there is a lack of exposure to the recent happenings in the technology domain, right? And it is difficult to stay motivated to aspire more, something which is beyond reach of the region. A lot of things are happening, but again, as a kid coming from a tier 2, tier 3 city, it feels that we are something behind and we don't have that kind of exposure, and that in the end results in lack of motivation among the learners and something. So I mean, how you were fortunate enough to have your sisters around who were doing who were working in management and tech, but apart from that, was there any other kind of medium using which you were in touch with the latest things happening, and how were you motivated around that time when you were here?
Okay, yeah, that's really good point. To be honest, like because when I was in Gadchiroli, I remember most of our lives around over like very few things, like go to school, maybe get your homework done. Like if you're in undergrad college, even in Pune, if you ask me, it's pretty mundane life. It's no different than what we have here in Nagpur or in Gadchiroli. It's pretty straightforward. Maybe the college might make difference, but to ask like how I got the idea of getting into computer science, as I said, like sister was one of the prime motivator for me, because I still remember like so the one thing here to keep in mind is the age gap between me and my sister is like 8 years for my younger sister, and the other one is 12 years. So we had a huge gap in the age. So when I was like a kid and she was still in undergrad, she used to teach me like, do you know how first in first out principle works? I'm like, I don't know. Like I was a kid. Then she used to tell me like, do you know, like whenever you give your copies or your homework to teacher on the desk, the person who keeps first, his notebook is gonna check by the teacher last. So that's how the last in first out principle or vice versa would work. So I used to get fascinated by, okay, yeah, so there's this concept and then you can give a name to it. Later I realized that, yeah, I remember I watched a movie, Social Networks. Everyone must have watched it. It's a story of how Mark Zuckerberg like basically invented Facebook and Meta now. So I watched it and I saw like how cool a computer guy could be. So if you ask me, that's my second motivator to get into computer science. And if you're asking me about exposure, how do I get exposure to new tech while still being in that city? Let's be honest, we all know who iShowSpeed is. We all have access to YouTube. We all have access to all the fun memes that get surrounded over Instagram. So it's very similar to that. You don't need to like enroll into any courses. Follow proper channels on Instagram. That's the number one tip I would suggest people. Mm-hmm. If you see any good interesting reel, I know you are never in the mood of study when you're scrolling Instagram, but just for 1 second, just hit the follow button. If you like someone explaining something, you don't need to focus what he's saying, just hit the follow button. Do this like for a couple of weeks. Your Instagram algorithm will build in such a way that you will get by such reels, and then day by day you will realize that, okay, I'm liking this new stuff that I'm listening to, or the new content creator that I'm liking recently. And then once it's on your feed, your brain cannot ignore that. Even like a few seconds of information that gets fed into your brain. Like if you ask me my Instagram, they'll always tell me which deep learning model is like invented or discovered by some new company, or which large language model are being trained, and which model is working good with coding, which is doing well with the reasoning and logic. I just listen it like a news, like 5 seconds, scroll it, next. So that's one way I would say to like build that motivation. Try to feed the information in your own brain. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this is not a direct way, but then it's like hacking into your own habits, I would say.
Okay.
The other, I think motivation is something that, I mean, I don't believe in motivation, to be honest. I believe in discipline. And the exercise that I just told you, like try to follow people on Instagram who you like. it's not they're not gonna motivate you. Like they're not gonna tell you that okay, hey, you should be learning this, it's so cool, or maybe you're getting more knowledge, but you're disciplining your brain into listening to such content day by day. And then at one point, let's say sometimes I have break on my Instagram, and few days later I don't see any such tech news. So I feel boring sometimes scrolling Instagram, and even if I see like one reel that's related to tech, I would be so happy. I'm like, yes, this is how I would spend my time on Instagram. So believe in discipline, not in motivation, I would say.
So indirectly, you are channelizing Instagram to keep you on track subconsciously, I might say. I mean, uh, you are configured that way, but I would little disagree that not everyone would be configured the way you are configured to see things. You already know how Instagram would play with your mind and keep you disciplined indirectly, right?
Right.
But for others, I might say they will have to make sure that they do this consciously, so that then the algorithm, how you told, works for them in their favor to keep them motivated.
Yeah,
right.
I 100% agree on that, because it's like I wouldn't hit follow button unless I'm like depressed. Like, do you have such days where you're like, oh, I messed up this exam, I'm so dumb, I don't know like how dumb I could be, I couldn't answer this simple question. And imagine you're depressed at that moment and you're scrolling Instagram, and at that moment you find something really cool, maybe a mind trick or maybe an answer to the question that you failed to answer to. That at that moment you'll definitely hit that follow button. And that's why I said, like, discipline, just hit the follow button. You don't need to see like how many followers the content creator has, or am I following like 10,000 people. If I show you my Instagram, I'm a consumer, I'm proud consumer, I would say. But just hit it. You don't need to think about it like second time.
Correct. Makes sense. It will, you will never know how you are disciplined about all those things. You just have to take that one action point. Perfect. How was your tuition days? Like, I mean, you moved to Pune, and then how were the things in Pune? Did you just focused on the academia, the subjects what were taught, or a lot of things from outside? Because you are graduated in 2022 batch, right? So it's not that far. You are recently graduated from your engineering as well. So how can you elaborate on those aspects? How you made sure to keep track with the current trends? You mentioned that you have learned few things from Coursera, few concepts. So could you focus on the conceptual part, like what all skill sets additionally, which were not part of your curriculum, you absorbed?
Yeah, before answering that question, like, would you just tell me what kind of audience do we have? Is it like all first years or like third years?
We have a large variety of audience. These 30% would be freshers, 30% would be college third year and final year students, and 30% would be working professionals in non-tech domain who want to make a career and switch in tech.
Okay, yeah, that gives me a good idea to like structure my response. So for freshers, I would say you might not agree with my opinion, and I completely like open about that conversation, but I was not the person who would engage in any extracurricular activities. One reason for that is I'm an introvert. I like playing games, I like playing guitar. So all of my hobbies are surrounded around what I can do with my own company. So that much involved in extracurricular activities. And I'm not saying that it's bad, but I've seen people who have been engaged in let's say entrepreneurship development cells. Like even in my college, they host like good activities, or even social activities like dancing, singing. I never spent much time on that because my sister, when I went in first year, she said that on day one, uh, focus on data structures and algorithms. That was the only instruction that I was given on my day one. When I went in, I realized that okay, my first semester they're not gonna teach me any coding. So my sister take an extra class, and she's not saying like online class because she knew that online class doesn't work for coding. So she found a good class for me in Pune. I think it's the Seed, SEED, and they bought me a bike just so that I could go in the classes after my college. So it was like daily 2 hours classes. So in my first year, I learned C language. In my second year in college, they were teaching me C, but then I already knew it. So I took an extra challenge and learned CPP in second semester. And the cycle went on. Like in third semester, they taught CPP, which I already knew. So I learned Java. So I was always one step ahead of what my college was teaching me. And it really depends on what college you are in, I would say. I really thought that my potential was or could be much higher than what I was placed in because everyone knows JEE Mains, JEE Advanced. It's such a gimmick. I wouldn't say that's a fair, what do we say, evaluation of your skills and what you can do in your life. So I always told myself that you're in a wrong place. You could have been in much better place. So like take an extra step, learn something extra. And I always followed my sister's advice. And so I learned these coding classes offline. I was always good at data structures and algorithms. But there came a point where I was like, I don't want to do data structures and algorithms because the only reason I believe I didn't like it, because my sisters, as I said, we had an age gap of 8 years and then 12 years with other. I saw that people who were like 10 years, 15 years back in the industry are still working on this tech. So it's really old. I wouldn't say it's useless. It's just old. And I would say I didn't have that interest in some things where I couldn't use my mind and then like give an impactful solution. So I told my sister, I don't want to do this. I want to do something else. And then what was the booming field? 5 years back, it was machine learning, AI. I wouldn't say AI was that developed. Obviously, it's an umbrella. Machine learning is an umbrella of AI. But today, if you call AI, people are going to call, they're going to tell you about AI agents and how the large language models are integrated into AI agents and all. But back then, I was fortunate enough to work on some generative adversarial networks. I had a research paper on that. So it was more of a Gen AI that we have today, but then it was based on deep learning. So that's how I kind of built my skill. I took a Andrew Ng course. Everyone must be familiar of Andrew Ng course on Coursera. He has an amazing machine learning course. I took that. And I would say online classes doesn't really help that. And that I realized when I came here in Masters. Trust me, the machine learning courses here, I wasn't able to even focus in class. I mean, it was a lot of information for me. They assume that you know already a lot of information. You must have good probability and statistics. They don't even trust computer science. My professor, he always used to like mock computer scientists. He used to say like, you people think that computer scientists must have built this world and all. And he used to always mock CS people. But then, yeah, like I think we're going out of track, but learning DSA, then I learned machine learning, machine learning, AI, deep learning, everything on my own through online courses. It was COVID, so universities were giving free Coursera courses. So I was just like, okay, yeah, enroll in this, enroll in that. But yeah, I successfully completed that. And it was, I would say, hectic. But again, I was an introvert, so I used to just sit at home and do this while playing games and guitar, I would say.
So that shows your extra effort that you have taken, right? I mean, you were not just relying on the academia, and you obviously had your sisters to navigate you. But again, once you figured out where you want to head and what's trending, you navigated your way around the technology, right? So
Yeah.
this was around COVID. So I guess that time the learning track would have been that you might have learned Python first, because you already had background around C, C++, and Java. So Python, machine learning, and then again all the data processing part around it. Let's take this conversation a little ahead. So I'll just give you a brief. We have a program which is called as postgraduate program in data science and analytics, under which we teach 5 major subjects. One is introduction to Python. It goes till NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib. And then there's machine learning, which starts from statistics, data cleaning, outliers, measure of central tendencies, and then supervised, unsupervised, and all those algorithms till clustering. And then parallelly, for the analytics part, we have SQL, Power BI, and Excel. So this is like a wholesome for anyone who want to migrate into the data-driven domain. As a fresher, as a non-IT guy or non-engineer guy as well, right? What are your comments, since you have already done and are doing good in the area? These are the skill sets which everyone in the audience is aspiring to learn or might have already learned with us. Okay, so how would you recommend to take one extra step? Maybe that could be around writing a research paper, as you have already mentioned, or maybe doing an internship. How important is, I mean, that is an entirely separate question. But yeah, how important are those projects? And even without an internship, we'll keep that for a next question. Without an internship, how someone can dig in a good project while learning all of these skill sets which are important right now?
Okay. So I think whatever courses that you have mentioned covers, I mean, it's a big umbrella, I would say, and it covers almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get specialized into some specific field into that, like for example, you said you're teaching Python till Pandas, Matplotlib. It's fair enough. You don't need to know much Python other than Pandas when you're working with data frames, NumPys. That's more than enough. Even image processing, NumPys, it's more than enough. So you don't need to get much deeper into Python. Other than that, you said you would teach some statistics, some central tendencies. I would say statistics comes in, if you want to go deep in statistics, it's really, I would say, complicated that you wouldn't be able to apply that knowledge into real world applications.
Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend not to go deep in statistics, but imagine it as the tool that is available to you that you could use anywhere in any machine learning algorithm. Let's say any supervised machine learning algorithm, let it be linear regression, your classification, your trees, models, or anything. Think how statistics used in those models, not only how you are importing from sklearn library. That's long gone. I mean, that should be the basics that you should always know. But if I tell you a problem statement, if I tell you that I have a data set and I tell you these are the characteristics of that data set, you should be able to ask me questions like, hey Shreyash, okay, you have given me the data. Are there any multi-collinearity that you have seen? Are there any redundant columns that could be merged into one? Some questions you should be able to ask me. And when I answer those questions, you should be able to tell me which algorithm would fit best. One thing that I learned here in my school here at USC is there's no free lunch. So it's a free lunch theorem. You can read about it. It's a funny thing, but what does it basically mean is, even if I give you every data, even if I give you the algorithm that you could use, it's never guaranteed that a specific algorithm could work before trying it out. You can never say. You just have to go in and try it. Don't get don't get discouraged by, okay, I don't know which algorithm to use. Just go and try. Like that's how these discoveries and research papers are made. They say that, okay, we had this notion of linear regression, had these assumptions of normality and all, but then later you will find another research paper saying the assumption that we found doesn't fit in here. So don't be scared to try out things. If you want to go deeper, I always recommend, even some of my friends, there's articles, newsletters that I have subscribed to. Those are paid articles, I would say, but then they also have free versions. I guess it's a daily dose data science. Let me search on my email. It's really good. I would say every person who is learning machine learning should be subscribed to this page. Yeah, just give me a minute. Okay, I think I.
Oh, yes.
So if you want to go one step extra, this is the newsletter that I follow. I've been following since a year. It's a paid subscription, but they also have a free version. For every algorithm, the one that you might have learned on day one, which you might be thinking it's so basic, he has an alternative approach. You will get emails, subscribe to its newsletter. He will give you another perspective of, let's say you're learning trees, why bagging, why boosting, why does it work in those trees algorithms. He gives you a different perspective. I know no one is wrong here. Like the books that you read, the person that teaches you, no one is wrong. Everyone has their own perspective for machine learning.
Correct.
If you want to build your own, I would suggest try to read something. And this, again, it acts like an Instagram. Again, I always subscribe to such newsletter, even if they take my money. But then every time I see email coming in the morning, I just check the heading. If I'm interested, I'll click in and read the whole article. If not, it's just gonna stay there. So again, disciplining my brain to see such newsletters. Other than that, if you want to get into projects, I would say look for an impact and a domain. These are two things that you should be focusing on whenever working on a project. As I said, DSA, SDE projects never thrilled me because the projects that I used to build in my undergrad was like hotel management system, which is really good to understand your data structure and classes structures, everything basic that a CS person should know. But then try to go one step ahead, like try to find an impact. Like for example, in my undergrad, as I said, I was working on a generative model. It was a virtual try-on experiment that we tried. So basically, the clothing stores like Myntra, Amazon that you use, you would be able to see how those clothes looks on your body before buying it. That was the idea in my undergrad that I had, and we worked on that. We put the research paper. We couldn't get the patent, but try to find a problem statement, a real world problem statement, and work on that. Let it be pretty simple. Like you don't have to build a research paper. I would say research papers are pretty like unless you don't have any problem statement or anyone has given you, that's the first step. You could try some research paper, get any random data, try anything on that, experiment stuff, and then you can build a research paper. It's not a big deal. I know it might not be published in like good journals or conferences, but at least you have a paper on your name that you tried and built something on, which you can show on your resume for next 10 years of your life. So always think that, does it have a good impact? And the other thing was domain specific. Like I think in one of my interview, I was asked a question at Children's Hospital Los Angeles, like, why do you want to work in a healthcare settings? Like there's no background of me working in healthcare, and it was difficult for me to get in CHLA without prior experience in healthcare. So the only thing I said then that I have all the data science skills, computer vision skills, that I have used in some other projects. But now I'm at that stage of my career where I want to learn some domain knowledge, like how I can apply the knowledge that I have in that specific domain. So yeah, two things to follow: impact and the domain. That would help you.
Which domains do you think are more impactful in today's world?
Okay, yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I would say that I couldn't give a straightforward answer to that because here in the US, everyone is building their startups on large language models, just having a wrapper around ChatGPT, which I always disagree with that idea. Like like OpenAI might release some amazing model tomorrow and your startup is gone. So you have to think like even a resume parser, even a LinkedIn jobs, like whatever you see, even if they have an AI and you're trying to build a resume parser or job matching kind of AI thing as a startup, LinkedIn doesn't have such thing as of now. But then let's say you build it today as the domain that you saw, a problem statement that you saw, it would fail instantly when LinkedIn tomorrow releases their own model of job matching and resume parsing. So it's very random if you want to think it as an like domain and impact for like your startup ideas or anything. So just don't be picky. If you see something, just build it. As I said, there's no free lunch. No one can guarantee you anything. Just go in. Don't be scared of wasting your time. If you ask me, I don't do much productive things in my day. So if I find something that might question me, I would just like do it. I don't have anything else to do, so just do it.
But that makes really sense. And like since what you were saying about CSL, how your prior experience helped you get in, I was curious to know that when you were interviewing for Children's Hospital at Los Angeles, was it more? Were the questions more towards the technical part, or was it more towards the discussion around what you have done previously in projects?
So the questions were technical. Some of them, like some of the questions would be case study based, and some questions were based on my previous experience, and they asked me like, and it was like a follow up on that. So for example, they asked me a question like, we are given an image of like brain. So we were working on pediatric brain MRIs. So they said that we are given an image whose dimensions are blah blah blah, and it's a volume image. It's like if you're scanning your brain in an MRI scan, it's not a 2D image. It's a volume. It's a 3D structure of your brain. So we don't call it a pixel. We call a voxel. Voxel is a 3-dimensional pixel. You can say that. So they gave me like, you have an 3-dimensional voxel like this of size blah blah blah, and then they said that how would you go ahead and try to improve the quality of that image and standardize with the other data set that you have. So this was a case study based question. I had to tell them some deep learning algorithms that you could use, like how. So if you haven't gone into deep learning, I don't want to get into too much technical, but then you have number of neurons that you can set as how many dimensions you would want your input size to be. And then you would scale it down and have some convolutional layers. And then you would scale it up again to have that resolution back and have some skip connections. So this is how you regain the information that you have in your input. So I told them this idea, and they were like, they were not expecting me to give a solution right away, but they just wanted to see like if I have the knowledge of how an image is processed in a deep learning network. And that was enough. Like, they're not going to test you and ask you a solution right away. They know that if they give me enough time of days, I'm going to build them a good solution in a couple of weeks, because I have the right approach to look that problem for. And other questions were like based on my prior experiences. Like I had a research paper. It was multi-class classification of thorax diseases. So you were given 14 different diseases of your chest X-rays, and you have to classify those based on. I mean, it was a supervised learning, so you already had few classes, but it was multi-label classification. Um, so they asked me how I built that solution, and more questions on that, like what network did I use. So in interviews, I guess it's pretty important to know all of your projects in depth, like what you have done. If you're not sure or you don't remember anything, don't say it loud in interviews. It's okay to keep things away from them. They're not gonna know. But whenever you're confident about few things, just talk about that. And if they like it, they like it. If not, then it's not a good match. So don't get discouraged again.
Perfect. Makes sense. What I can sense is you have a very deep knowledge and expertise around the image and the computer vision part of the AI, right? What would you suggest for someone who want to dive into the domain? Like I already told you that we teach a mix of both. Like you are ready to go into analytics, you are as well ready to go into the data science, and then further on you can expertise in either NLP or computer vision, or again large language models, what's going on in today's world. uh, it is said, or it's in the air, that for freshers it is very difficult to enter into the data science vertical. Do you agree or do you disagree to this?
I would say that was one of my reason I didn't stay in India, because I knew that undergrads here, even like if you're in good college, there are very less opportunities, I would say, in India. I wouldn't say it's your problem, industry in India who is not yet par with what USA is offering you for AI field. But the problem with the colleges is that, like I'm talking about the freshers or the people who are in college now, the companies that get in your campus, they have a fixed set idea in their mind that I want to hire like 3 people who gonna work on backend, who gonna work on like raising tickets or like solve some errors in the code base. They have a set idea that, and even if you're like the topper of your class, you have like 100 research papers, they're not gonna change their requirement. That's the problem in the colleges. If you go a little extra, like if you're applying on LinkedIn, I don't know situation in India as of now, but are there a lot of data science openings that you see when you go on LinkedIn for freshers?
Yes, there are, but they are specific. Like if a CV or resume like yours comes in, it's there are a lot of openings around that, because there are a lot of startups, as you told, are building a wrapper around OpenAI and then working around research domains. Even a lot of research projects are floating around IITs nowadays, like IIT Bombay, Madras, and Delhi. They are pushing a lot of research projects because India is building its own LLM and trying to have Bharat GPT and a lot of things around it. Like I'll tell you, in Nagpur we have a startup called as Inverse AI, which is started by 8 years young, and even Qualcomm and Google is supporting them, and they have office in Nagpur, Pune, and now in the US as well, and they are from Nagpur. So I mean the penetration has reached till our region at that age as well. So a lot of things are going on, but again, it's not for everyone. Like if you just have SQL, ML, Python, and all of these things written on your piece of paper or CV, it would not be enough. I
would say like one thing that I followed when I was applying for jobs, because I can understand this situation, because when I graduated, the job market was pretty bad here in the US. Like there were not many openings. So one of the tricks that I followed was, first of all, have multiple projects. I'm not saying to make your own projects. Like, I know I have said things like looking for impact and domain. That's one thing. If you look at my drive, I couldn't show you now, but then during summer, like in a span of 1.5 months, my roommate came to me and he was like, we gotta do something, like this is not working. So we made 4 folders: automobile, healthcare, business, and yeah, there was one more. Inside each folder, automobile, we made a project. You don't have to make it on your own. Just search on Google. Maybe if you want to work on computer vision, search like computer vision for like Tesla or maybe any car that you're interested in. You will find a video which is like 2 hours. Just follow that video. He's gonna tell you what to do and what not. And you are not gonna. I wouldn't say you're building that project on your own, but trust me, 30%, 40% of the things will get into your mind, and you will learn some new things. And put that project, do it on your own. Put that project on your resume. I mean, in that folder, automobile. Do the same for your healthcare. Make the project, put it in there. Make some bullet points for your resume. Make a list of 15 to 20 such projects, and this is doable in a span of 1 or 1.5 months. Trust me, I've done that. And this goes with, so we did this by domain. So whenever we are applying, so we had resumes in each folder. Automobile, resume 1, where I would put 2 projects related to automobile industry. Healthcare, 2 projects related to healthcare. Now there were some other folders that we created which were based on your role that you're applying to. Let's say you're applying to analytics position. You should have some Power BI or Tableau projects when you're applying to an analytics position. You're applying to a software engineering position. You should have some API related work that you have done, or front-end related work that you have done in your resume. Some data science projects, you should definitely have a recommendation system project in your resume. Let's say you want to apply for a research position, you should have a deep learning project in your resume. And trust me, everything is available online, everything is available on YouTube. Spend like 2 hours, 3 hours a day. Try to work on like one project one single day, just for the sake of putting it on your resume. I'm not saying learn it by heart. I'm not saying you have to build that project on your own and then maybe have a documentation on that. I'm not saying that. You just need like 3 to 4 bullet points on what you did, how you did, and maintain a GitHub profile. One thing, if you ask me if I would have done differently in my life, that make a GitHub profile. All of my friends have a GitHub profile. I don't have one. But try to make that, or put all of those projects on your GitHub profile. Yeah, so getting into any industry related to data science is easy, as long as you know what they want and how you can give it to them. If the job description says that they're building a recommendation system, you should read the job description. Just copy and paste on your Word document of resume and then upload it to the LinkedIn. As easy as that. 30-second task, copy, paste, upload. Just spend like 5 to 10 seconds reading the description, and trust me, your resume will be like seen by the recruiter right away, because as you said, there are 100 people who are just putting SQL and Python. But trust me, there are not 100 people putting a proper recommendation system model with a link to their GitHub profile. So that's how you can, I would say, beat the market. So there are different steps of like beating the market, actually going into the market and like hacking their brain into understanding what they really want.
You obviously, one size doesn't fit all, so your one resume won't go everywhere and for every role. Maximum people just have one and they think that they'll land a job ASAP. This is a very good strategy. We also internally urge our students to have multiple CVs, but there's a very good idea that a folder should also be created of multiple projects, and then within that only you should have your different CVs created. This helps.
You can also like go deeper. Like if now you see my drive, I don't even have those, but I also have company specific resumes. So if I'm applying for Google, if I'm applying for Meta, or like I have list of like 100 companies that I've applied to, and specifically each role has their custom resume built in. So when you have time, you have to think smart and do the best that you can. So this is my way of doing it. If you have some better ways, please don't be discouraged. See what works for you. There's no free lunch theorem always exists. But I'm just sharing my opinion.
This is true. This is true. Even I mean, as you said, I remember my days. I used to maintain an Excel sheet, and I used to write all the companies, all the email IDs, and every company which I used to apply. I never used to have my lunch before applying 100 companies a day when I was jobless after my graduation. So you have to have some kind of this strategy to land a job. But there's a good point that you have mentioned, that you have lot of that you have applied in many different companies, and obviously that is how it works in US and over here as well. How is the Fang or Mang market? I mean, everyone aspires to work with Tesla or Google or Apple or Meta. Did you had any kind of opportunity anytime to interview or when someone is working around you in that domain? How things work over there?
Okay, so I so during my last semester, I interviewed for Meta, and that was my very first interview to any company. If you say like, I never interviewed for full-time employment to any other company. Then obviously CHLA was there, but then it was not a full-time, it's a research opportunity. And Meta, to me, they gave me online assessment. I cleared the online assessment. They have a standard set of interview structure. They will have 3 interviews on a single day, back to back. Each interview you will get 2 lead code style questions. So total 4 lead code style questions and 1 behavioral interview. Pretty standard structure. Meta will follow this for every position. Sorry, every country, same role, new grad. The same structure is gonna be there. So I studied well for that. Like maybe I spent like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I wouldn't say it's well because it was my very first time giving and like proper coding interview, lead code style questions. I still remember I read a lot of Reddit comments and realized that mostly Meta ask lead code tagged questions. Like if you have been to lead code, questions tagged saying this question was asked by Meta like 3 months ago, 6 months ago. So I completed that list of like 100 questions asked by Meta in previous 6 months or 3 months. I was able to solve like 3 of them. One was pretty difficult for me based on my preparation, I would say. If I see it now, I think that was a cakewalk. But then that was my first interview, so I messed up. I was pretty depressed because in that job market, getting an opportunity by Meta would have been a life-changing for me. But like I was pretty sad for like next couple of months. But then I interviewed again for Neuralink. If you know, Neuralink is a startup by Elon Musk. Yes. So they gave me an opportunity for their first P1 patients. If you know, they have a human patient that they have put chip into. So I had chance to like work directly with him to get his data and then give it to the model that their staff scientists were working on. But then I would say I was unlucky in that because there was another person who was interviewing for the same position, but he was experienced in patients and he had some medical background. So but then I was like, okay, that's fine, maybe not a good fit for me. Later I interviewed, like recently I interviewed, so Proofpoint I interviewed for my internship. They asked me some case study again based on machine learning. Like they asked me about an unsupervised machine learning problem, like how I could work on that. So that was pretty good interview. That's why I got selected, I guess. Then recently I interviewed for Google. Even they have pretty standard um, structure of their interviews. They'll give you online assessment, which I cleared. Then they have four interviews on a single day, three
Oh,
of which are lead code style coding questions. And the different thing about Google is like it is not like Meta, where people will say that it is lead code tagged questions. The questions that Google will give you cannot find it anywhere on the web. They have their own question bank. They make their own data structure questions. It's pretty different than any FANG. Like I would say the questions that you get by Google, even if you like try to release them online, they're gonna find you and they're gonna remove that. Like not gonna find you. I was just exaggerating, but then if they see that question was posted online, they would remove it from their question bank. So no point in sharing. You sign an NDA saying I'm not gonna disclose any other information. Um, it was pretty good interview for me. Three questions were asked. I gave three answers, lead code style questions. I prepared like this time I prepared like 250 extra questions in 3 weeks because I knew with my prior experience with Meta how it goes. So I cleared those three interviews. The behavioral interview was good. A few days ago, I got a call from Google saying like, "Yeah, congratulations, you cleared your interviews." So I'm stuck in a team matching process now. So what Google has is if you clear all of their interviews, um, all of the team in Google will see your resume and they will ask like, okay, this guy's in my team, so I want this guy. So that's how team matching process would work. Currently, uh, yeah, I'm waiting for my team to be getting matched. And I also gave an Amazon interview. Amazon is again pretty chill. I would say difficulty wise, Amazon is pretty easy. Then Meta, then Google. So these are the only FANG companies that I interviewed for. And I would say I was fortunate enough to get calls from them because the market is pretty down. As I said, you have to find your luck. It's not as easy as how 5 years ago it was. I remember one of my decision to go to USA was like how easy people are getting jobs in FANG companies. Like in India, I interviewed for Amazon in my undergrad, and that was horrible. I remember the questions even now, like what questions were asked to me in my undergrad Amazon interview, and I didn't do well. And how fierce the competition is in India. But I was shocked at how people are getting jobs easily outside India. So that was one of my reasons. But now when I came here, it's not. I would say I was unlucky because I came in this job market. No one could predict that. But I was fortunate enough to still get some interviews out of these companies. But it's pretty chill. I would say FANG is not the most difficult part. I would say the most difficult interviews are the ones that are domain specific. Like the companies who want you to build something, they are hiring you to build something. They're going to ask you and grill you on their project, not on a specific defined Meta. They have same structure. If you ask me like, hey Shreyash, I'm getting a Meta interview, what should I do? I can give you like one page of summary of what you should do in next 3 weeks and you will be in. That's pretty simple. Like there's no changes to that. So FANG isn't a big thing, but the other companies who are working on this impact and domain thing, that as I said, those are most difficult interviews that I faced.
it was enlightening for me as well, the experiences that you have shared. All the best with the new companies where you would be working in the future. You said that you are unlucky or lucky as well to interview these questions. I might disagree over there. It's your hard work that you have put in silos and worked and built those folders and projects within them. Obviously, that efforts would lead you somewhere. Without efforts, nothing happens. I mean, luck is there, but luck is nothing without hard work. So all the best to you. And I generally don't extend my sessions. It's 12 over here, so I mean we should stop. But I will extend it by 5 to 10 minutes today if you agree. And
Yeah, yeah.
I want our students, if they have some questions to ask, I would. I mean, you have not given me opportunity much to ask you. You already have shared your experience, which was so relevant. And I mean, I would say that this is one of the best fireside chat which I had until now. And thank you so much for being a very wonderful speaker over here and being here today. And I'll just check if we have some questions. So the floor is open, guys. If you have any questions for Shreyas, please go ahead.
I see one question like, have you faced any problem in college and how you tackle it? What do you mean? Like, what kind of problems? You get 100 problems in college, and which and which college? Like undergrad or here? There are different problem sets in different colleges as well. So if you could be more specific.
Purit, do you have a follow up question to that?
Oh, regarding studies.
You can
Okay.
put in chat.
So problems in studies. I would say again, I was lucky to get into VIIT where the exams are not that difficult. If you ask me, pretty basic stuff. No, maybe like if you. So the only principle that I followed was don't bunk any classes, and this comes back to the point that I said that don't engage in any extracurricular activities. Again, controversial thing to say, but that's the advice I would give to people. There's, I mean, make friends, spend time with them, but spending time in extracurricular activities while bunking your class doesn't help. If you ask me, my data structure, the trees data structure, I still struggle. Why? I remember I was attending one of the event, and my teacher, she taught trees in that specific period. So I still struggle with trees just because of that. And it's not that I am dumb enough to not learn it again through any other sources. It's like the FOMO that you get, that oh shit, I missed something in my life that could have been helped me much better to build my concepts. Don't bunk your classes. Trust me, it's gonna help you in longer run. And as I said, it's pretty easy at VIIT. You just have to attend classes, just learn what they taught, and that's what they're gonna ask you in the exams. So I got pretty like high GPA, like 9.93 out of 10. I guess that's what helped me to get into USC as well. They prefer GPA. They see what GPA you got. Yeah, that's the only thing I would say.
There's one question that Sanket is from BSc background. He's not having an engineering background, and he wants to start his career as a data analyst and grab a job as soon as possible. So he's asking a roadmap. Predominantly, he's already upskilled in Power BI, SQL, and Tableau, and Power BI, Python, and ML. He wants to know what kind of projects could be done. We have discussed this a little bit, but there's a follow-up question as well that how do we work on live projects? How do we find live projects if we don't have an internship? So something around that?
What do you mean by live problem statements in the real industry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so to answer your first question, like you are from BCE backgrounds, BSc background, and you want to get into data analyst, you already have experience in Power BI. I would say your experience section isn't gonna help you much in that. If you're applying for data analyst role, put like for new grads specifically, I would say put 1 or 2 internship experiences. And if you think that experience doesn't align with your job role that you're applying to, just remove it. Put extra projects. Maybe put 2 Power BI projects. Don't put much Power BI because they're gonna be like, okay, this guy just know Power BI. try to build more business metrics into it. Like one of the example I could give that I do at here at Proofpoint is do some churn analysis. Churning is like how your customers have been moving away from you, how many people are moving away, if they are upgrading your package, they're not buying your package. Do that monthly analysis or yearly analysis. So this is one of the business metrics that you could follow. You can show that in Power BI as well. You can do it in Python as well. You can build a machine learning model on churn analysis as well. But any analytics company would be 100% interested in what this guy has done with the churn. So this is one of the problem state. As I said, like finding the domain, churning in analytics is one of the best thing you could ever do in your resume. The other life projects. How do you find it? As I said, like I don't really work on. I think life projects doesn't make sense unless you have done that with any specific company, because it's gonna sound like you're faking something if you put a life project in a project section. Try to make something that is trending. Like for example, you should every one of you should 100% have one project on large language models. I have one on my resume. Anything. There are hundreds of videos on YouTube. Find have a large language model. Instead of having focus on life, find a project that is trending, I would say.
Makes more sense. Perfect. There is one question. Any foreign countries allowed freshers to apply as a data analyst? The CGPA there a lot.
Okay, so CGPA is important. In India, it's important at certain level. Like a specific company would come and they'll be like, I will only shortlist students who have CGPA more than 9. So that's where it is important. Other thing is maybe you want to earn a medal. Like I'm happy to tell you that I've got a gold medal in my undergrad because of my CGPA. So that is something you can flex all your life in next 10 years that you are a gold medalist. Other than that, all foreign universities have high focus on what your CGPA was. One thing they don't know much about is in India there are tiers of college that varies a lot with your CGPA. Like for example, my college, it was very easy for me to get a 9.93, but some of my friends who are as equal as smart as me, they were not able to get even 9. But I was fortunate enough to get into USA because of my 9 CGPA, but my other friends were not. So you never know when CGPA could be helpful. So don't take it as easy as your 12th mark sheet because it's not going to help you anywhere, but CGPA might in future. So take it seriously. Are foreign countries allowed fresher to apply? I would say it's very difficult. Like never think to go in foreign countries with such, I would say, gamble. It's a gamble because one of the ways that people could go is you are working in one of the company in India and they have a project going on in the USA. Let's say they will give you an L1 visa where you can go to USA and work and earn the salary in USA dollars. That is one way that you have to be very lucky. There are no other way that I can think of, because when you apply jobs here in the USA, they ask you 2 questions. Are you authorized to work in the United States? And you can say only yes when you have a valid visa. Like you have a B1 visa. B1 is like a tourist visa. You can come here as a tourist visa, but tourist people are not authorized again. I'm on F1 visa. I'm on student visa. I'm authorized to work in the United States, so I can apply for that job. So, and the other question is, do you require sponsorship? I need sponsorship because I'm on student visa, so I would need a work visa. So my company is gonna sponsor my work visa for me. So there is a lot of complicated procedures going on behind job applications in different countries. Every country has their own rules. So if you wanna go to foreign country, the best and easiest way is to like get a master's degree, like in some field. You don't have to go in or spend a lot of money in any university. Just any university would be fine as long as um, like they have good courses and good reputation with the placements and all. By the way, they don't have on-campus placements, so just look into their alumni list on LinkedIn.
How important is Python required for data analyst or not? What do you think?
For data analyst, definitely. I am working as a business analyst. People above me, like my directors and my managers, they don't have much experience in Python. They mostly work with the decision makings. They don't need Python. They might have learned in their school, but they don't need now. But that's why they hired me. They're like, hey, you know Python, so you can do it. So every time, every meeting, I still remember they're like, Shreyash knows Python, let's just give it to him. So Python is gonna take you, like, this is the basic of basics in data analysis or data science field.
And followed by machine learning around it as well, right?
Well, machine learning depends. Like, most of the people nowadays don't have that of like smaller scale problems, like for a machine learning algorithm to work. But I would say machine learning gives you a good base, but everyone nowadays are building their own deep learning models and trying to work around that. But as I said, no free lunch. You have to try everything. While trying everything, you have to try from basic linear regression. So learn machine learning as well.
Right, makes sense. How should be my day-to-day task if I want to land a job within 6 months?
So for me, I used to cry like I'm applying 100 jobs a day, but I'm not getting any interviews. One of the things I would say might change your life is install this app. Apollo.ai, is it? Let me search real quick. Apollo.io. Yeah. So this is an email. What do we say? I forgot the name. But then what you can do is like you can send emails to any people that you find on LinkedIn. And trust me, I have had a lot of fruitful communication with recruiters, with hiring managers directly by using this app and sending emails. So learn about that app. Try to see some YouTube videos of how to use that app. It's a website, apollo.io. What I used to do in my daily life is I used to find a job. Let's say if I find one job opening, I used to apply to that position because I still believe referral doesn't help. But if you are a believer of a referral, maybe find a referral. But I would apply to that job. I would open that company's page. I would go to people's section. I would filter by data analyst or what the position that I applied for. I'll filter by country, USA. In your case, you would filter by India. I would see a list of like 100 people. With this extension that you have, that I have shared, you can select all those 100 people with a single click. You can make your own template with variables. With that variable as in the person's name would fit in directly. If you're sending directly to 100 people, the company name would fit in directly. If you're sending to 100 people, with one single button, click all 100. You have your template ready. Just send. Within 5 minutes, you would email. You can schedule email as well. What I used to do is I used to schedule it by morning 8 a.m. The app has some restrictions, like you can send 40 emails per hour or something. Like maybe read more about that. But I used to schedule it at 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. I used to almost every day send like 200, 300 emails. So if you're gonna land a job in next 6 months, 200, 300 emails per day. If you ask me, I have emailed almost 15,000 people till now, till date, just for job, asking them if you have, like, this is like pretty short email. If you have any questions, you can like text me on LinkedIn as well. Like I could share you my template, like what I used to show. Pretty basic 2-liner, what you are, I graduated, what I'm doing, what I'm looking for, attach my resume. That's it. I used to get answers every day. Like the answers could be like, hey, I don't have any job openings. Maybe look into the career page. just reply saying, oh yes, I already applied, could you direct me to a hiring manager to this position because you have already applied. So this is an active way of interacting with your jobs rather than just hitting apply on LinkedIn, which I still don't like today. But try to be smart and try to that you're following, other people are following.
Perfect. I hope this sums up today's discussion. There are a lot of questions, but again, we'll just take the last one. Fake image detection project, is it good or not for graduates? And good, then can we upload it on LinkedIn profile? Yeah, I mean, he's just asking that is fake detection project good or bad?
I don't know what a fake image looks like. Like you have to know the labels, like what a fake and true image is. But I'm assuming you're talking about image classifications. Image classifications are pretty basic unless you have done some unique thing into that. For example, in my case, instead of having image classification, it was not a binary classification. It was not even a multi-class classification. It was a multi-label classification. There are different algorithms for multi-label classification, like label power set. I don't remember much now, like my school days are gone, but there are some multi-label classifications that you could look into. Try to make, if you're just gonna look into YouTube, like you're not gonna make your own algorithm, obviously, try to find a complex one. It's definitely useful to put it in your resume as a machine learning project. And I don't suggest you to put your projects on your LinkedIn. As I said, LinkedIn is mostly to share your experience work experience, and little show off some other things that you achieve in your life. Project is not an achievement according to me. Put that project on your GitHub page. Put that GitHub link on your LinkedIn.
Makes more sense. Perfect. I guess this brings us towards the end of the session. I am in huge depth of yours to empower us with so much of knowledge. I really think that it enlightens all of our learners and me as well. And we really feel inspired to look up to work more in the field. And we really have the cheat code now to aspire to crack Fang or Mang companies as well. If we get opportunity to work with them or if we get a review call from them. But yes, a big kudos to you and all the best for your future. Would surely love to have you again with a specific area. This was a very in general discussion with you about the past, early life, and how you are where you are. Sometime I would want to call you to discuss about a specific use case or a wonderful project around the domain. I mean, we can discuss it later. But yes, a big thank you so much for taking out time to spend with us today.
Sure. Like I would say, I'm more than happy to share my experiences to people in our region. I know you said that Nagpur is like tier 2 city, Pune is like below Nagpur. I don't want to keep that idea in people's head. Obviously, we're gonna act smart. Try to break the trend and make your own decisions. But if you ever need my help, please contact me on LinkedIn. I might reply late, but then that's the way of communication I would prefer. And if you want any more sessions in the future, I would be happy to have some time with you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I have shared Shreyash's LinkedIn profile as well in the chat, so I would ask everyone to connect with him. Perfect. Thank you so much, and have a good night. I guess you are back to US.
I'm still in the US. It's like almost 11 p.m. here.
Yes, I can understand. Thank you so much, and have a good night ahead.
Yeah, you too. Have a good day. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.